was recently awarded that degree. And we are just so very proud of Dr. Chatney Spencer. Dr. Spencer hails from Montgomery, and so that's where our speaker is now. So she is intimately connected with that speaker, and she has listened to her and been in her midst for many, many years. So she said she knew what we were actually getting today. So I'm excited that you joined us. Other colleagues that I see that are in my space, I see Margaret McKinley, who's one of the Motlow faculty members. I see a retired foreign dignitary, Ms. Pat Alsop, who's a new friend of mine in Motlow from Atlanta, and she was another speaker at our recent African American Read. And I'm just so excited that when you invite people to come. So thank you, Ms. Alsop, for coming. My cousin B, but that's Belinda Rowland Van Noy from Detroit. She loves and supports any and all that I do. And for that, I'm very grateful. Got another cousin out there, Jan North Star. Thank you, Jan, so much for coming. Another colleague, and that's Yolanda Beverly. Yolanda is also an institutional member, and we have 15. We're the 3-tier level at Motlow College. Dr. Spencer is an institutional member. Ms. Yolanda Brinkley is an institutional member. I'm an institutional member. We have 15. So if anybody that's an institutional member has something that they'd like to say, I don't want to overlook anyone. So your voice is valuable. Your presence is welcome. Anybody else? WHET, Women in Higher Education in Tennessee. Since 1980, WHET has sought to meet the needs of women in the academy. And we did this by collaborating with the American Association of Community College Women. I can remember back in the early days when that actually got started. I can remember actually being in the trenches with them. They were working and instituting programs like the June Anderson Award, supporting an annual convention or an annual conference. We were doing workshops. We were networking with people across the country, across the state, and across our cities. And then in 2001, WHET collaborated with ACE, and that's the American Council of Education, to better meet the needs of women in Tennessee education. And we wanted to do that in a variety of ways, by professional development seminars, by partnership with statewide women leadership conferences for college and university students. We instituted a presidential advisory committee. We wanted to support member participation in national leadership conferences and institutional memberships, which is what I just mentioned, the 1 tier, the 2 tier, and the 3 tier, the 3 being the highest with 15. I think the 2 tier has 10, and the 1 tier I think has 5. And I'm excited that I've been in Motlow since 1986, and we've had a 3 tier with 15 members, the highest level that you could have since I've been there, and I'm almost sure since the inception of WHET in 1980. We also instituted a reception, and we started this reception that coincided with our state conference. And we wanted to honor new college presidents in Tennessee. Some years we had females, some years we didn't, but we still wanted to honor them. But whenever there was a female, we felt that we really had something to celebrate. And then we also offered annual scholarships. So those are some of the things that WHET has been involved in. We have a board that sits strong, 12 or 15 people, and you heard from many of them today. I serve as the historian of WHET, so trying to chronicle the history. So this will also go down in the history books. And so I just wanted to be sure that I gave you a little bit of an overview of WHET, women in higher education. How did we get to this particular space? How did we get to this space this evening, celebrating women? What better month to do that than March, which is Women's History Month? What better month to celebrate women? Why do we celebrate it? Quite easily. Since 1995, presidents have issued a series of annual proclamations designing the month and designating the month of March as Women's History Month. These proclamations did several things. They help us celebrate the contributions women have made to the United States, and they recognize the specific accomplishments women have made over the course of history in a variety of ways. You might ask, do they have themes for every Women's History Month? And the answer to that is absolutely they do. The theme for 2022 is providing healing and promoting hope. Providing healing and promoting hope. This theme is both a tribute to the ceaseless work of caregivers and frontline workers during the ongoing pandemic. But it also recognizes the thousands of ways that women of all cultures have provided both healing and hope throughout our history. What an appropriate theme for 2022. Women providing healing, promoting hope. What are some of the facts about women's history? We could go on and on about that tonight, but I just want to share a few of those. Again, the first Women's History Day was held in 1909. The day became Women's History Month in 1978, just 2 years before WHET was actually founded. In 1987, it was Women's History Week in 1978. But in 1987, it became Women's History Month. And the president declared every March, from the 1st of March to the 31st of March, as Women's History Month. Every Women's History Month has a theme. And lastly, Wyoming Territory was the first to place some grandeur, if you will, on Women's History Month. And so the rest of that story can be continued at a later date. So that's a little bit of history about women's history and about WHET. You've been introduced to our board members. You've been introduced to students. You've been introduced to my family. I would be remiss if I did not pause this evening and give honor to a past WHET president. I am so excited to see her in our presence. She's really the person that got me involved in WHET. And more than just a past president, WHET embraces all women, all ethnicities, all colors, all ages that are in higher education. But I can remember very clearly the first African-American woman that was named president of Women in Higher Education in Tennessee was none other than my friend, Dr. Jessie Campbell. Dr. Campbell was at Nautilus State Community College. When I first arrived, she has since retired, but she has never really truly left Motlow. And I'm very grateful that she's never left my side. So we have the first African-American president of WHET and a former president of WHET. Dr. Campbell, this is a red letter day to have you in our presence. Thank you so much for being with us. Please share with us, and grace our audience, if you will, with just a few of your words. I'm so excited to see you. Dr. Jessie Campbell. Somebody else has their mic on and I hear them. I see my brothers there, James Dale, my sister. I hope that it's not their mics, but if it's your mic, please mute. I'm glad that you're here. Please mute your mics if that's either of you.
Respectfully, I'm gonna call them by name because I've sent them a message. B Lane 7, okay. Your mic is unmuted.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Spencer. Dr. Campbell.
Hello, WHET. It is so good to see you afternoon. And I'm so glad to see my friend, Dr. Adams, still carrying her work on. I'm also pleased to see one of my high school students of many years ago, Miss McKinley, actively involved. So you all just keep the good work going on and keep good speakers coming in. I'm excited about hearing Dr. Stewart.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your words. Thank you for your presence. I'm so excited that you were able to join us.
Thank you.
It's my esteemed honor and great pleasure to introduce today's speaker. For many, she needs no real introduction, but I would be remiss if I didn't share a little bit in the space for those of you that might not know our speaker. Our speaker is a native of Greenwood, Mississippi, but she's lived in Montgomery, Alabama, and has called that home since 1990. She's a professional actress, play director, a National Museum exhibit director, a tenured professor and dean of the College of Visual, Performing and Performing Arts at Alabama State University, and she has retired, but she's not stopped working. She was the first African-American female to receive a doctorate from the Florida State University School of Theater and the first McKnight Doctoral Fellow in Theater Arts. That is tall cotton. During her study at Florida State University, she received a fellowship from the National Endowment for the Humanities. As an actress, you've seen her on the big screen, A Time to Kill. You've seen her in a recurring role as Miss Etta Kibbe on In the Heat of the Night. Last Christmas, she was on 2 or 3 specials on Lifetime and some of the other cable stations. I could go on and on about where you've seen her, Wrong Man, Girls Trip. She earned an NAACP Image Award nomination for her role in the film adaptation of John Grisham's A Time to Kill. And I can never pass that station without stopping if I know that that's on to look at her again. She was a narrator of the Public Radio International series, Remembering Slavery. And she does an incredible narrative of Papa Dallas being her grandfather. She has a story that she tells, and she tells that well. Papa Dallas knew from years ago that she was going to be a spokesperson. And she said to Papa Dallas, I don't even now know what that means. But I guess that's what she's doing, because she's gone across the state, across the world, and across the country actually speaking. She's performed in Canada and Mexico and South Korea and Scotland and Turkey, throughout the United States. Her performances have also taken her to Carnegie Hall and to the Kennedy Center. She has prepared young scholars for greatness. And so that's one of the things that I know that she is most proud of molding her students into be the people that they are today, professional actors and videographers and directors and theater scholars, and the list goes on and on about what she's been able to do. If you know anything about the history of MFA, Masters of Fine Arts, in the country, then maybe you've heard that Alabama State has given the country more MFAs, Masters of Fine Arts, than any other institution. That's stellar. And it's been because of the work and the life and the legacy of our speaker that have molded those students to get those degrees. Our speaker served as a spokesperson for One Church, One Child. I remember watching that many years ago. It was a Texas-based organization aimed at youth development. She was inducted into the National Black College Hall of Fame, and she holds honorary degrees from Buena Vista University in Storm Lake, Iowa, and Jarvis Christian College in Hawkins, Texas, as well as Tuskegee University in Tuskegee, Alabama. Our speaker is a member of the Order of the Golden Circle. She's a life member of the NAACP, SCLC, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, and a dedicated member of Hutchinson Missionary Baptist Church. She's most proud that she's married to Dr. Alan Stewart, and they have 3 incredible children and 5 grandchildren. Most proud of that. Tonight, as you witness, as you sit, as you soak up the knowledge and the experiences, you will be inspired, you will be informed, you will be enlightened, you will be energized, you will be included, you will be empowered, you will be blessed on this evening. Our speaker tonight, T, she's a truth teller. O, she is God's obedient servant. N, not without faults. E, she encourages all. A, she is amazingly accomplished. Our speaker this evening, S, is a servant leader. T, she's a teacher all day long. E, she is an educator. W, she is a woman of God. A, she is an actress by trade. R, she is real. She is resilient. She is respectful. T, she's a teacher by example. This evening is my honor, it's my presence, it's my pleasure to introduce my mentor, my sister, the voice of an angel, the voice that will speak the truth. I bring to you Dr. Tonea Stewart, an evening with Dr. Tonea Stewart. She will share with you in her own words a theme of loving and respecting who? The self. My sister, Dr. Tonea Stewart, the space is yours. Welcome.
You are so beautiful. Oh my goodness, Phyllis. There's only one Phyllis Adams. There's only one sister like that. There's only one spirit that's always ignited and up, that's always uplifted, much like our mothers and mothers' were. And it's so good to see you, Dr. Spencer. Bless you in all of your accomplishments. To the members and visitors to this call, my grandmothers were strong. They followed plows and bent to toil and moved through fields, sowing seeds. They touched earth and grain grew. They were full of sturdiness and singing. My grandmothers were strong, with veins rolling roughly over quick hands. They had many clean words to say. My grandmothers were strong. Why am I not as they? Here we are in 2022, hearing the words of Margaret Walker Alexander called lineage, and thinking, why am I not as they? Why do I not respect myself, not love myself enough to know when I'm being mistreated, when I'm being put down, when I'm being pushed back, when I allow others to dictate what is my future? Why am I not as they? They had so little, but they did so much. Why am I not as they? I see our young men still walking around even greater today with their breeches hanging down. As my grandmother would say, polluting the air. My grandmothers were strong. They knew the meaning of love for the family, but also for the self. That's how they were able to pass on so much wisdom, so much guidance, so much medicine. I mean, they were the doctors, they were the teachers, they were the housekeepers, they were the nurses, they were the field workers. They were so much and had so little. And we today seem to not realize how powerful we are. We today allow others to determine who we are, how far we should go, instead of picking up our bootstraps and moving forward with the vision that we see ourselves to be. Why are we not as they? I think about that butterfly. There's something called a butterfly effect. And I think it was Dr. Lorenz that expounded on it at one point. He said, even when a butterfly flaps its wing, it does not just stir the immediate air, but it reaches for miles away. And sometimes weeks later, the effect of that flapping wing may cause a tsunami, may cause an earthquake, may cause an unsettlement in nature. A butterfly that we can hold in our hand that can flap its wing and have that kind of impact. But when we think about the butterfly, we think about all of the stages that it has to go through before it becomes mature. Maybe we should liken ourselves to that butterfly, knowing that we started from an egg and then the larva, and then the pupa, like the cocoon, and then becoming the adult, and then gaining the strength of our wings to fly away. It reminds me of one who flew over the cuckoo's nest, the movie. Nurse Ratched had a very stern face and a stern way that she communicated with the patients. But when they found the strength, especially the Indian, when he would take the medicine that she'd given and hold it in his mouth and find a way to get rid of it so that it would not change who he was or alter his mind for where he wanted to go or who he wanted to become or how he wanted to live. Until one day, he literally, like the butterfly, flew over the cuckoo's nest and out of there. It takes love of self, respect of mind and being to have that kind of courage. Today, we can engender that and call upon that for ourselves. Frank Severa told us when I was in California in 1970, he said, you exist in a complete and perfect state, lacking no essential characteristics. Everyone on this call today, you are perfect as you are. Appreciate that. Like we said in Beloved, when B. Richards looked at her hands, she said, look at your hands, love your hands. Don't look at them and say, my hands are too big. My fingers are too small. My thumb is too short. My design of the fingerprint and imprint of my hand is not clear enough. Criticizing something that you have no control over. But when we can look at ourselves, look at our hands and love our hands, look at our face and love our face, look at our hair and love our hair, look at our walk and love our stride, look at our talk and appreciate what you have to say, look at our mind and understand that the things that enter into it are not always our own, that there's a secret voice, a special power that's within us that whispers the directions we should go. And we tend to ignore it. It reminds me of how we should take the chance on doing. You know, there are three kinds of do. You have D-E-W, do, and you have D-O, do, and you have D-U-E, do. They all sound the same, but they all have a different meaning. The D-E-W, do, I see that as our beginning, like the egg. As we nurture, as we grow, our immediate community sprinkles us with the freshness of life. We learn about our family and shape our personalities during that DEW, do. And then when we make it to the DO, do, now that we know who we are, we have a sense of where we've come from and a sense of who we are and who our family members are and what we've learned in life. We try to act on it. We take an action and we go in a direction to do. But then when you look at the DUE and you do all of these things, okay, Dr. Spencer, you went on and got your doctorate degree. That was doing, D-O-ing. Now, what is D-U-E? You. What is due? What's to come as a result of all that you've sacrificed? If you don't speak up for it and stand up for it, it won't necessarily come to you. But something is D-U-E, due you, for how you started, how the mist of life sprinkled you. My grandmother had a way of talking about that. I remember once I came home from school and I was so frustrated and I was angry. And she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Oh, I don't understand. I'm just mad." She said, "Well, tell me about it." So I just don't want to talk about it. She said, "Who are you talking to now?" "I'm talking to you. You don't talk to me like that." I said, "Well, you would never understand." She said, "Come here." She went out in the front yard and she pulled up a weed. And she said, "What is this?" I said, "Just a weed, Mom." "Mm-hmm. Now you keep that with you." I said, "Keep it with me." So that night when I got ready to go to bed, she said, "Where's your weed?" I said, "Here it is." I lay it right there by your bed. The next morning, "Baby sister, yes, ma'am." "Where's your weed?" "Mama, it's right here." She said, "Look at it." "I see it." "What's different about it?" I said, "It's dried up." She said, "Uh-huh. That's the same thing you would be if you didn't learn to stay rooted in who you are. You be careful how you talk to me. You see, when you're rooted, you stay in the ground long enough to get the nourishment that you need. And as the Lord sends rain down and sunshine to bring you up, then you grow strong. But not strong enough to talk to me any kind of way, but strong enough that you can take care of yourself. Now, if you don't stay in the ground and stay in your foundation and learn who you are and receive the dew, D-W, and the mist and the rain and the sunshine, then you'll do like that weed that was pulled up. You'll wither. Oh, that lesson stayed with me a long, long time. Till I decided to explore these words, do, and do. D-U-E. What is due me? Does somebody else say to me what is due? Or do I rely on the God that has preserved me to this day to open my eyes and my mind to understand what I'm due? And you get that by loving and respecting yourself. What is there to respect? What do you mean, respect yourself? You mean not trying to keep up with everybody else, not trying to be who somebody else is. Looking at yourself and understanding your God-given talents, your innate abilities, your contribution that the world is waiting on. We all have a role to play. We all have a place to go. We have things to do. We were put here for a reason. And if you understand your due, then you'll find yourself walking in the path of developing for that reason. Some of us are here and are understanding our family's lineage. And other members of the family think nothing of it. But for some reason, it burns inside of you and you think that you need to keep the record straight, but you don't know why. But because others dismiss it, does not mean that you should dismiss it. It means that that secret voice that rolls after 3 days, that special power that gave the blood and shed the blood for us, is washing us with a love and a respect for why we are here. And it's important if we would say to ourselves, I understand my path. I want to take this journey because this is what I feel strongly about. It's something deep inside of me. I don't know why I like to paint. I don't know why I like to cook. I don't know why I like to write. I don't know why I like to help other people. I don't know why I feel like I'm here for this reason. You don't have to know all the whys. You just have to acknowledge that it's real. Is that your truth? Many times we try to run away from our truths. I know that I'm good at arranging music, but I don't like to do that. I want to be like, not to be like, but to be who you are. All of us have a role to play. Some people say, well, it takes so long to do the things I want to do. Well, I say to you, don't count the days. Let the days matter. I say to you, the way is already made. I say to you, this questionable period in your life, this too will pass. I say to you, claim your space. When you go and you tell everybody what you're thinking about doing and you want their approval and you hope that they understand where you're coming from, you're going to the wrong person. The person is you. The beauty is in you. I saw a show once, I don't remember the name of it, but it really resonated with me. It was a girl that came home because her mother passed, and she was so excited about coming home. And she told her brother, she said, I'm here now, and mother always told me when I grew up that when I got to be 16, I would be happy. And I had this 16th birthday party. She brought me this little monkey right here, and he claps his hands like a tambourine all the time. And she said, and I thought he was cute. And I said, that's cute, Mama. And she said, yeah, just you'll be happy one day, just like that monkey. Clap your hand. She said, She said, so after my 16th birthday, I wasn't happy. My mother told me, when you get a little older and you graduate from college, you'll be happy. She said, I graduated from college and I wasn't happy. She said, well, one day you're going to get married and have your family and you'll be happy. She said, I'm married and I have my family and I still haven't found happiness. And she said, I don't understand. So she went in her room and she slammed the door and the monkey fell off the chester. And she went to pick him up and he started clapping his hands. And then she saw a vision of her mother. And she said, Mother, you told me I would be happy when I got to be 16, when I graduated from college, when I got married. Mother, I'm not happy. I've been looking for that happiness. She says, oh, my child. Oh, my child, don't you know? The happiness is in you, not in all of those other things. You've got to put it out front that you're happy. You've got to decide that you're happy. You've got to fix your mind that this is my happiness. Nothing outside of you is going to give it to you. You've got to recognize it and receive it. So how do you love yourself? How do you respect yourself? We need to eat right. We need to exercise. I say we, because I'm right in there too. We need to acknowledge our talents and we need to invest in that. We need to seek our own truth. We can't go through life criticizing our bodies because we didn't make it. We can't go through life trying to compare ourselves on a daily basis with what somebody else has, because material things don't really last. It's what you experience in life that makes that measure of joy and acceptance and achievement. What you experience. Some people go to school and they get different degrees. The whole process of doing that was an experience. I had a professor to tell me once, oh, you won't make it. You won't make it here. You're not ready for this. And I looked at him, and because I respected him as my professor, I didn't say it to him. But in my mind, I said, I'm so glad you're not God. I smiled. He said, what are you smiling about? I said, I thank you for that. Because I learned a long time ago how important it is to turn somebody else's negative into my positive. How to turn somebody else's hatred into my joy. How to turn somebody else's jealousy into my achievement. Because I can't focus on their baggage. I've got to create my own. So I say to you, as we talk today, be like that monkey, recognize him when he's clapping. And find out that he's not clapping outside of you, he is clapping to you, for you, at you. Understand the butterfly. When you flap your wings, you're not flapping your wings for your immediate area. You're flapping your wings for what's to come in years with your nieces, your nephews, your children, your grandchildren. Be like the Indian and one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. Because you see, when you run around and you tell everybody else what you're trying to do and you want their consent, it reminds me of something my grandmother told me. She said, baby, you got to understand, termites live underground. You see, my grandmother didn't talk to me in sentences. She always talked to me in parables. Termites live underground, Mama, what that mean? You just think about it. One day I was in a biology class and my professor was talking about things that, you know, that you can study in nature. And he said, now this wood has been affected by the termites. My ears opened wide, perked up, my eyes opened wide. My mind reflected back to Mama said, termites live on the ground. I said, sir, you said termite? He said, yeah, you see this side of the wood? Look how solid it is. But when you turn it over, you can see where they've been having a ball, eating at that wood, but you won't know it until you feel of the foundation of the wood. You can see it, but if it's the solid side toward you, it looks like it's all there. And I said, oh my goodness. I rushed home to tell my grandmother. And she said, uh-huh. You see, people can be termites too. They smile in your face. They give you their pat on the back. All they want to know is all of your secrets and your desires so that they can punch holes in them, so that they can eat at your foundation, so that they can tell somebody else what you're trying to do, so that they can all try to stop you. And they seem solid on the outside. But when you feel of the wood, you feel of the surface, you really delve into what someone's saying to you, you can find out that people can be termites too. She also told us about, I have a lot of old proverbs like this. She said, baby, I came home from school and I had won the science fair. Oh yeah, I was gonna be a medical doctor, you know. I was in all of the science fair. I won all of the school science projects, was a winner. I made it to the state. I was even in the regionals. I did a study on the pituitary gland. I wanted to understand why some people were huge and why some were small, why some were tall and why some were short. So I got some biddies and I injected them and followed the growth of the pituitary gland. And my school was very proud of me. We had a program. The principal had me to come to the stage and dropped a ribbon around my neck. Oh, I should run and I have all of these medals for those, I should show them to you. And I was so proud, and I looked back at my friends and none of them were looking at me applauding. And as we left the auditorium, I was walking by myself. I thought they were gonna come and embrace me. So I told my grandmother about it when I got home, and she said, baby, tall trees catch much wind. You can bend, but you better not break. I didn't understand that. Wasn't until a tornado was coming. I'm sitting out front and they said the wind is coming and it's coming so many miles per hour. By 11 o'clock tonight, we'll have a tornado to hit. I watched the trees bend with the wind, bend, swaying with the wind. But I noticed that the trees that were bending bounced back. They'd bend, bounce back, and bend. So Mama was saying to me, you feel a little hurt right now, you can bend, but don't you break. Goes along with Dr. King saying that a man can't ride your back unless it's bent over. He can't get on your back if you're standing straight. So in order to go on, we can't be bending and giving up and giving in and committing suicide and becoming depressed and have shock treatments and have medication and have doctors treat us because it's what somebody else is doing or saying about us or to us. We got to love ourselves enough to know, just like the commercials on television, stop, or the song, stop in the name of love. Before you breaks your heart, stop. We got to know how to say stop. And then there's another song that I love. It says, sometimes you have to encourage yourself. Sometimes you have to speak victory during the test. So no matter how you feel, speak the words and you will be healed. Speak over yourself. Encourage yourself in the Lord. Whoa, you know the song. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And you encourage yourself by telling yourself the truth, by accepting your truth, by knowing what's right for you, what makes you happy, what makes you fulfilled. A lot of times, and I'm guilty of it, we want someone else to make us happy. Oh, I love him so much. Oh, he just doesn't seem to see how much I need him. And then for Color Girl, she said, I needed you. Oh, I love you. I need you. We got to need and love ourselves. As women, as men, as a human being, need and love ourselves. Because when we eat, nobody can enjoy it but us. When we rest, nobody can bounce back from it but us. When we smile and laugh, nobody can find the magnitude of that joy but the individual that's doing it. Other people may laugh with you, but they don't feel the pleasure of what you are understanding and laughing about. We have to know ourselves. B. Richards told me a long time ago, and I'll never forget it. She said, sister, people talk about faith. Let me break it down to you in a real way. I said, break it down to me, Bill. She said, you know, we have faith. They say, have faith as a grain of mustard seed. I said, that's right. I said, now I also remember a preacher saying, faith is the substance of things hoped for and the absence of things not seen, or something to that effect. And she said, yeah. And I said, and he told us when he was growing up, they would have chicken, fried chicken, and their mama would make gravy, and they would all be so excited to get in the kitchen to have that chicken. He said, they have some big old round biscuits. He said, but Dad and Mama ate the chicken. So we got the substance of things not seen, because all we had was the gravy and biscuits. She said, that's a good one. She said, well, I got another one for you. We put things on our back. We buy expensive things. We dress ourselves up. We put it on our backs and we go around with our head up. She said, but you know something? We have faith that we have a back. And we hope it looks like what we think it looks like. But one thing about the back, you know you have one, you feel it, you dress it up, you know it's there, but you've never seen it. She said, that's another kind of faith. If you look in a mirror, you want to see your back, you see what the mirror lets you see. The mirror may have a crack or a spot on it, and you looking in the mirror could think it's on your back, but it's on the mirror. Sister, faith is knowing that it's there, and you don't have to always see it. So I say to us today, know that you are real, that you are perfect. Know that you are powerful. Know that you are due, because you do, and you have done, and you've had the dew of life sprinkled all around you to help you to grow to be where you are today. But now it's time for you to accept and explore what is due, D-U-E, you. And you do that by believing in you, by loving you, by protecting you, by saying, I will not allow you to talk to me like that, by saying you will not jump in line in front of me and disrespect the fact that I'm standing here. You will not treat me like I'm nobody. I'm a human being, and I am due the same respect that you want me to give you. So I will not allow what you're putting out to be my reality. My reality is that I am complete. I am real. I am perfect. I have something to offer. God has me here, not you. And I'm here for my purpose and cause. Whether you see it or not, I'm going to do what has been called upon me to do and to be. Loving thyself, oneself, is a powerful notion. Some people would say, well, you're being selfish. Great, I'm selfish. Well, you're being paranoid. Beautiful, I'm paranoid. Whatever you want to call me is not the name that I answer to. The God I serve called me before I ever knew you. I am due, D-U-E. Do you understand? I hope I've said something to mean something to everyone here. When I think about the roles we play in life, and I think about the people we affect in life, like the flutter of a butterfly's wing, you would be surprised how effective your stare, your smile, your kind word, your gesture, your offer to support, how far-reaching it goes in the minds and activity of other people. We all are here for a reason, and we all have a role to play. So I say to you, love and respect yourself. Put you first. Put you first. When I'm not saying ignore your children, because the children are first to you. So that's putting you first. Put you first. Whatever is important to you is what's you first. Thank you. I think we have a few minutes for questions, comments.
We do. Are there questions from anybody in the audience? Bravo, bravo, Dr. Stewart. Magnificent. Nothing less than what I expected. You are complete and perfect, lacking no essential characteristics, nothing.
Yeah.
You have shared with us the three do's, D-O, D-U-E, and D-E-W. You are a truth teller. You are God's obedient servant. You're not without faults. You encourage everyone.
Try.
You are amazingly accomplished. A servant leader you are. You are a teacher, an educator, a woman of God. You are an actress by trade. You are real, sister. You are resilient and you are respectful. You teach by example, loving and respecting the self, in the words of Dr. Tonea Tommy Stewart. And so it is. We have been blessed. We have been inspired. We have been informed. We have been enlightened. We have been included, empowered. We have been blessed this evening. She speaks from the heart. She speaks from life experiences. She speaks her truth, and she's not afraid to do that. In the next few minutes, I would be remiss if I didn't give you an opportunity to ask the question about experiences, about her journey. We know, Dr. Stewart, that you have produced with your being practitioners, your former students, an incredible documentary, The American Theater of Being. And many of us that are in this space today saw and heard some of that at the African American Read-In. I just wonder if you would share a bit of how that whole connection of being is interwoven in the lives of each and every one of us. I remember conversations that you and I had, and both of us teaching theater. And you said to me very, very pointedly, particularly when the president was in our space, and he really got it, that being is just not for theater and for actors. Being is a life theory. And you talked a lot about that tonight, about being and being your best self. So if you could share a little bit about that documentary. We were excited to see that a couple of weeks ago, and your son Thomas allowed us to drop that in the space for students to see it a couple of weeks without charge, and we are indebted and grateful for that. So that's a question that I have a little bit about being, if you want to share that. But I also want to open to others of you questions or comments that anybody might have. Anybody, questions that you might have. Comments.
Well, I don't have a question.
Okay, Dr. Spencer.
I was called by name, so I feel like I'm almost obligated to give a comment. First of all, I speak obviously for the contingency present here, as communicated in the comments, for the awesome and the power that you shared with us, and just how magnificent of an experience this has been for all of us, and particularly for me, as Dr. Adams mentioned, me being from Montgomery, Alabama. And I think the reason I don't have a question is because I was so busy drawing the connections between your experience and the stories you shared, and drawing to that a relationship to the impact of storytelling. Because so much of the things that you presented, I've also noticed. So I shared this in email with Dr. Adams today. I finished my doctorate and we had spring break last week. And I not only did I come back to Montgomery, I also went and attended my alma mater, Florida A&M University. So I went down to Tallahassee as well. And I said, it's like running, when you play baseball, you hit the home run, but it's not official until you play on the bases. So just like you were talking about being true to your roots, there is that making sure to never lose sight and lose value of your grounding. So again, I just wanted to tell you, I've seen so many parallels and was listening to that. And if anything else, also, I too wanted to go to med school. I was supposed to be a pediatrician, but I'm a chemistry professor instead. But I much thank you. Your national legacy, what you've done for Montgomery, all of that is empowering to me, to say the least. So thank you so much for sharing your time, space, and talents with us tonight.
Thank you. I'm really, I retired from the university and the community college system in the state of Alabama. I'm challenging them now to make arts and entertainment and recording a workforce development for the state of Alabama. I've presented it to the governor, I've presented it to the chancellor, and we're beginning to get some traction for that. Because I really do believe that there are a lot of young people and a lot of older people who really want to be in the industry and they're not sure how to do it. And the ones that have figured it out, they leave and they go to Hollywood, New York, and other places. Now we have a lot of killings, a lot of shootings, a lot of crime. And I think that if we could just arm these young people with hope and direction, that a lot of that would stop. And someone said to me, hey, you retired, sit down. I said, who are you talking to? You need to turn and talk to yourself because you got the wrong one. They want me to just, it's a person just out of the blue just felt like, haven't you done enough? No, there's never enough. No. So whatever you have in your mind to do and in your heart to fulfill, it's so important to love yourself enough to follow it through, to take it through. And just yesterday, when I was looping is a form of recording for the movie industry, a show that I've done, and there was some noise on the soundtrack of my lines. So I had to go to Birmingham to loop the lines. And while there, I just mentioned, and I don't know what made me say it to this gentleman. And he said, I want to help with that. He said, oh my God, I didn't know anybody was even thinking about that. Wow. I can help. And that gave me that push to keep moving and not hear somebody telling me what I should not do. And all of us get that every day. I'm sure you get folk telling you, that's crazy. That would never happen. It can happen. Flap your wings, butterfly.
Yeah. Dr. Stewart, we have a question in the chat from one of our board members, Dr. Christy Martin. And she asked, what has been the most challenging situation you have faced as a woman in leadership? And how were you able to overcome that? Share if you would.
Well, quite a few. But one challenge was being a female, African-American female, as an administrator. And I discovered that I wasn't being paid equally. And when I discovered that, I said, hey, wait just a minute. I need to come over and we need to have a talk. Something is not right. Now, I'm not comparing myself to anybody else, but I want you to measure me and measure me right.
All right.
Those were the words that I used. Mm-hmm. And by the time I left that office, I was measured right.
All right. Measure me right.
Yeah.
Wow. Any other questions? Thank you so much, Dr. Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
Any other?
Dr. Adams, I believe Dr. Kamudi had a question in the chat as well.
Oh, is there another? Okay.
Yes, there is.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. That's for you, Laura. Dr. Kamudi, another board member, says, Dr. Stewart, what can you recommend for catching those negative thoughts and turning them into positive? Thank you, Dr. Kamudi, for that question. What can you recommend for catching those negative thoughts and turning them into positives?
Well, there's such a thing that's called the law of opposites. And I really do believe in that that there's a yin and there's the yang, there's truth and there's falsehood, there's white and there's black, there's male and there's female. And what I look at is when you put two negatives together, you don't get anything. You put two positives together, you get an explosion. But if you put a negative and a positive together, you get currency. So I believe that when you have a negative presented to you, you find the way to flow the currency. Never stay stuck with the negative. Never, never. Even if it's a doctor, never, because the final decision is with God. The final answer is through our Heavenly Father. So never, if it comes to you as negative, you find what would make that a positive. You determine, you say, and let's see now, that's the one end of the stick. Mm-hmm. But if I can make it to the other end of the stick, what would that be? But whenever you allow the negative to settle with you, that's right, then you are inviting the enemy. Mm. But if you know that there is always another side, if there's darkness, even God did the universe to give us light. That's right. If there's rain, there's always sunshine. If it's cloudy, it's going to be clear. If it's night, there's going to be day. And there's a transition in all of this. So we as human beings with our intelligence, we need to find the way to get to that positive and say to ourselves that there is a way. There is a way. Declare it, claim it, name it, call it that. Yeah. And it will be. Wow. That's what I would suggest.
That's profound. Wow. Thank you. Other comments, other questions? We've got a few more minutes while we have her in our space. Anybody, other comments, other questions? Don't want to overlook anyone.
I really appreciate the patience of everybody and your support. I take your lack of questions, here we go, to say that you're finding answers and you're searching. Okay. And don't stop searching. That's right. Don't stop thinking. Don't stop working. Continue the do, the do. It's a verb, it's an action. Don't settle on, I didn't get this. No, that's negative. Find your positive. What did I get? What did I get? What difference can I make? Who am I? What do I have to offer? And when you ask that question, I dare you to start jotting down, and you'll find that the page will be full. Wow. Because you have a lot to offer. God does not make mistakes.
That's right. I love this other question from Dr. Christy Martin, Dr. Stewart, and she says, how would you like to be remembered?
Be the what?
How would you like to be remembered? How would you like to be remembered?
Always wanted to help somebody.
Yeah.
I love children. I love helping. I love embracing. I love encouraging. I love motivating. So my whole thing is about helping. I just know that the God I serve never said he was going to walk back down here on this earth and help us through our trials, but he has his angels and his vessels to do it for him and to receive direction from him. I'd like to think I'm one of them.
After your last visit with Motlow, and you've been many times now, but you came back at the end of February with your scholars and your BN practitioners, and I've had several students and staff members to say to me that it looks like we need to work on an articulation with Motlow and Alabama State. And we've talked about some things that maybe could happen. Vice President Hilda Tunstall, I hope you hear that, that students are just sitting at the feet of greatness and wanting to learn more. And as we think about additional articulations, I would love for that to be one of the institutions that we would consider. I know our president and his executive board are always on the cutting edge and always looking for windows of opportunity to improve and expand our territory. But when you hear students say that to you, that they have witnessed your students on more than one occasion, and wouldn't it be wonderful to have that articulation with Motlow State and Alabama State. So that's something that maybe that can be continued. We've got a VP here from Motlow, and we've got a former dean of visual and performing arts. And we've got scholars that are sitting here that are asking for that. So that's something that I just want to drop into the spirit of all of you, that there are other things and other collaborations and linkages and inclusions that Motlow State Community College and Alabama State can continue to do and would hope to do. And so I know, Dr. Stewart, you have not retired fully, you're still working. And I know VP Tunstall, you said that you're going to be retiring soon, but you're going to still be intimately connected with Motlow. So I just needed to share that in this space, that's something that our scholars are asking for, that they're hoping for. We have a pretty strong workforce development program, Dr. Stewart, and I hear you're trying to do more with that at Alabama State. Well, Motlow's on the cutting edge with that.
Well, it's with the community colleges.
Okay, absolutely. So VP Tunstall, you hear that? So we're there. We're doing a lot of things.
And I actually have a team of community college members working with me.
Wow.
I need to send you, I'll send you an electronic version of the proposal.
Thank you.
That we've come up with. It's a breakdown of the industry, the role it's playing in different states, and how little is being done in our state. Yet Tennessee, Mississippi, Alabama have made great contributions nationally and internationally with its people out there in the forefront. I mean, when you see Ellen DeGeneres, you see our young man from Stephen Boss from Montgomery, who was in my summer camp that you work with, Dr. Adams. He's a dancer.
Okay.
When you go to Broadway, you see a lot of our students, and Miss Pat, the different shows on television, our students are involved there. So it's with the community college. Community colleges are underestimated and underutilized. As a matter of fact, there's a gentleman in Tennessee that contacted me, and I vowed to support his efforts. He's trying to start the first studio, television studio, and he's in Memphis.
Okay, great.
And I talked to him about maybe we could get the same program going with community colleges in Tennessee. I mean, I don't have any kind of inhibitions about, well, if our state is doing, we can't share with another. Come on, please. Yeah. We're talking about people, human beings.
That's right.
Our children, our citizens who are lost and need help. And some of us who can help should help. Some people make a lot of money and in the industry, and they don't look back. Well, I just happen to be one that does not mind looking back, look over, and look front.
You're absolutely right.
And there are a few others like that too. So the community college system, I think we can get this. We have a list of experts that could train the teachers to give them an idea of how they can go just a step further. So they teach hair and makeup. But when they teach hair, they're not teaching, they could go a little further and talk about the period hair, how hair was done in different periods.
That's right.
So they're teaching electronics or electricity or electrical training fundamentals, they could go just a step further and teach them how to be a grip for a movie, television series, or a stage play, or an equity, not an equity house, a union house. How to measure the wattage of the lights so they'll know how long lights will burn for this particular scene. So they're teaching coding. They need to know how to take it just a step further so that they can read and be able to interpret and articulate their coding techniques so that another movie like The Black Panther can be made, because that was all coding.
Absolutely.
Those are the kinds of things that I'm trying to encourage, and that workforce monies could pay for an internship. It could pay for the experts to train the teachers to just add a little more to their curriculum, not a lot, because they're already doing a fantastic job. They're doing the fundamental foundation things, but it's not enough. When a big project comes into the state, they bring the experts into the state and take the money back out of the state. And our people stand around gazing or being extras for $50 a day. That's not good.
And then we're sitting right here in the center, so close to Nashville, with so much going on,
Right.
With filming and music. And as I mentioned, I know VP Tunstall sits with our president each and every day, and they're doing lots of things with workforce development. The VP says thanks. She's welcoming any materials that you can send her way. Sounds good, is what VP Tunstall says. We also have Brenda Cannon, who actually sits in the president's office. So these two I know are at the table with all of what's going on with Motlow
Right.
College, but particularly with things with workforce development. And we know
Because
that
the problem for the four-year
that's-
college system, it takes too long to get that done. We're
There you
talking
go.
about, short-term courses, certifications, certificates, these kinds of things that a community college could do.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. We hope to continue with that. Other comments, other questions? We have some that said they started at the community college, was their springboard to higher education. Jan Northstar mentioned
Great.
that.
That's right.
Yeah. This has been incredible, absolutely incredible. Loving and respecting the self from the incomparable professional, for the educator, for the servant leader, for my sister, for our friend, the Dr. Tonea Tommy Stewart. Thank you for gracing this space once again. Thank you for loving us enough to always try to make it work in your schedule, even if we don't always dot every T and cross every T and dot every I. Charge that to our head, not our heart. We'll get things right, and we will do that on purpose. We'll be right on purpose. But
Okay.
We couldn't think of any better person to come during Women's Month to share from the voice of a woman that has done much, that knows to whom much is given, much is expected. And if I don't know anything about you, I do know that you have never let the lights and the glitz and the glitter in Hollywood get to you and who you are, and the innerness of yourself, and being able to look down and lift up. We know that you stand tall, but we know that when you need to, you don't mind building it a bit so somebody can climb up.
That's
and when
right.
they climb up, they can stand tall. So for all of that, we're very, very grateful. Loving and respecting the self. You are indeed incredible, incredibly incredible. And in the words of my daddy, I'm going to keep on loving you, and there is nothing you can do about it.
And there's
Thank
nothing
you.
you can do about it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Madam President, the space is yours. We would be remiss if we did not end this evening without the voice of our president, and that's President Patricia Birch-Jeltz. So I lend the mic to you, the space to you. It has been my honor to welcome you, Dr. Stewart, and to facilitate this incredible evening. President Birch-Jeltz.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Adams. You know, I was just listening and listening and gleaming and picking up so many pieces and parts and one thing that I took away, this woman has to have much faith. She has to have much faith because some of the things that probably could have turned you around and said, you know, this is too much. I've got mine. I don't have to worry about anybody else. But I was just listening to how much of you that you poured in to so many others. And I'm very grateful to God for the gifts that you have as a servant leader, as Dr. Adams has so eloquently stated. So we just really appreciate you being willing to share with us. And it's something about women anyway. We just know how to make stuff happen. If we go at it, if we put our hands on it, something's going to happen.
That's
And
right.
so again, we appreciate you sharing so many things about you, things you could have said, well, I don't need to share. I've got mine. But that's not the attitude that you have. And I thank God for you allowing yourself to be used to pour into others. It's a gift. It's a blessing to so many. So thank you so much for spending this part of your evening with us. It's been a real delight. It's been awesome. And I love the stories. I just love the whole presentation. So you
Thank
be
you.
blessed as you go forward. I know
Thank
you
you.
already are. Thank you.
Thank you all for joining us. We've been having, I guess, a couple of years, is that right, Ms. White, the WHET Wednesdays? We started that during the pandemic, where we would be
Yes.
twice a
Yes,
month
we have.
on Wednesday, and we would have a workshop, sort of individual panel, and it was always very, very successful. But several of us got together at the board and thought, what about a WHET Wednesday? What about a WHET Wednesday? A WHET evening, an evening with WHET. What about an evening with WHET? And then we thought about March, and your name quickly came up. So again, thank you, Dr. Stewart, for gracing us. Thank you for your time, for your talents, for speaking your truths. Thank you for being your real, resilient, and respectful self. And thank you for knowing who you are, as well as whose you are.
That's right.
That's important. That's important.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. And I'll let you all know about the projects coming up this year.
Thank you.
4 of them. Okay.
Okay, we look forward to hearing that.
Okay.
That concludes our evening. We'll have other activities during the year. You have been our special guest. We will continue to keep you in the loop of what's going on. As long as we're doing things virtually, we'll use our virtual space. But as soon as we can get back on the ground, we will continue to do additional things. But we know that to whom much is given, much is expected. So we know that we need to be doing. And so we're serving. And I think we have served well tonight. Your presence, your participation has made this an amazingly exceptional night. Mwah. Love and hugs. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
All righty. Stay safe and stay well.